Okay, I think we're ready to start. Everyone's here.
Good. All right, excellent. Call to order the regular City Commission meeting of December 8th, 2020. May we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for
which it stands,
one nation,
under
under God,
indivisible,
with
liberty and justice
for
for
all.
all.
Thank you. That's always the hardest part, I think.
It really is.
Amy, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioners should remember that when
Yes.
they respond to roll, they need to state the city
Where
and
are
state
you?
that they are in, not necessarily the address that they are at, but the city and state that they are in. Commissioner Budnick,
Here in Pleasant Ridge, Michigan.
Commissioner Perry,
Here in Pleasant Ridge, Michigan.
Commissioner Scott,
Here in Pleasant Ridge, Michigan.
Commissioner Wall,
Here in Pleasant Ridge, Michigan.
Mayor Metzger.
Here in Pleasant Ridge, Michigan. Okay, we're all here in Pleasant Ridge, Michigan. First item on the agenda is the receipt and filing of the audit of the city's financial statements for the fiscal year ended June 20th, 2020. I believe we have a
Yes.
presentation, but I'm not sure who's presenting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Aaron Stevens, the partner in the auditing firm we use, Manor Costa Reason, is here, and I'm going to turn it over to him. Aaron, I've shared co-hosting responsibilities with you, so if you want to share your screen,
All right.
you can take it away.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Our thanks to the city staff and administration, as well as the folks from Plant Moran for their courtesy, cooperation, and assistance. We did the audit remotely this year, so it was a little different than what we're used to, but definitely appreciate the help. And what I plan to do tonight is highlight what I think are the key areas. We did go over this in some detail just a little while ago, so I'll try to move through this fairly quickly. But if you have questions, feel free to stop me at any time. We can go through those. The purpose of an audit, or the objective of an audit, is to express opinions on the financial statements as to whether they're fairly presented in all material respects in accordance with GAAP, or generally accepted accounting principles. So the independent auditor's report is presented on pages 1 and 2 of the financial statements. And I've included a few of the paragraphs here in this PowerPoint presentation that I'd like to highlight. The first of which is the second paragraph from page 1. And we highlight that management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements, including the internal control over that preparation and fair presentation. Our responsibility as auditors is to express an opinion on the financial statements based on our audit. And this is taken from the third paragraph on page 1. And then in the first paragraph on page 2, we have expressed unmodified opinions, where that reads, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects. That is the unmodified opinion. That is the highest level of assurance that we can provide for a set of financial statements. And that's what you want to see as a commission. We have 3 types of opinions that we could express. You have the unmodified opinion. We could express a qualified opinion that might read something like, except for capital assets, the financial statements referred to above present fairly, or an adverse opinion, where the financial statements do not present fairly the financial position of the city of Pleasant Ridge. The only other alternative that we have would be to disclaim an opinion altogether. So we have expressed the unmodified opinions on your financial statements. That is what you want to see. The financial statement report does include two perspectives, I guess. We have government-wide financial statements and fund-level financial statements. Government-wide financial statements are prepared on the full accrual basis of accounting, which means they primarily have a long-term perspective. They are prepared once a year, and the only time you really see this reporting is in your audited financial statements. I've included a few highlights here from the government-wide financial statements. The statement of net position is presented on page 8 of the financial statements and is a snapshot as of June 30th, 2020. I've highlighted a few of the ratios that I like to look at, one being the current ratio or measure of liquidity. that tells you how capable you are of paying your bills in a timely manner. If you can cover your current obligations with your current assets. And as you can see here, governmental activities, current ratio is 9, and the business type activities, your current ratio is 8 as of June 30th, 2020. So obviously you're more than capable of paying your bills as they come due. The unrestricted net position compared to expenses is an indication of how long you could operate at the current level before you needed to generate any additional revenue. In this case, the governmental activities is actually negative. You have negative unrestricted net position, primarily the result of recognizing net pension liability or legacy costs. Business type activities, you're at about 124% or nearly 15 months worth of operations. And we'll take another look at the business type activities in a few slides here when we get to the fund level financial statements. The statement of activities is presented on page 10 of the financial statements, also a government-wide financial statement. It starts with expenses in the left-hand column. It reads left to right, then top to bottom. When you get down to the bottom of the page, you can see that your governmental activities, the total net position did increase by 1.3 million. So very positive news there. The total net position for business type activities increased by 300,000 for the fiscal year that ended June 30th, 2020. Then we get into the fund level financial statements, and the governmental fund financial statements are on pages 11 and 13 and are prepared on the modified accrual basis of accounting. And under the modified accrual basis of accounting, we have a current financial resources focus. So you won't see any of those long-term items on your balance sheet for the governmental funds, long-term items such as capital assets or long-term debt or that net pension liability. These are just current financial resources. It should be a more familiar presentation for you because this is the level at which your budgets are prepared, and the interim reporting that you get throughout the year is done at the fund level. Governmental funds balance sheet is presented on page 11. And the balance sheet is also a snapshot as of June 30th, 2020 of your governmental funds, assets, liabilities, and fund balances. I tend to focus on the general fund as the operating fund for the city and specifically fund balance. So you can see here, total fund balance for the general fund was $1,247,000. And there are 5 potential classifications of fund balance. And the city of Pleasant Ridge only has, for the general fund, only has non-spendable and assigned classifications of fund balance. The unassigned fund balance is the amount you have available for future use, and it's not restricted in any way by any funding sources or any commitments that the commission has made to spend that money in the future. So it is truly available, and that unassigned fund balance represents approximately 41% of your annual expenditures and other financing uses. And in this case, your other financing uses is the $60,000 of transfers out to other funds. So at 41% sound financial condition, the Government Finance Officers Association recommends maintaining a fund balance in the general fund, a minimum fund balance that is equal to 2 months worth of normal operations. So 2 out of 12 months is about 17%. At June 30th, you were at 41%. And I know the city has higher aspirations than that. And that's fine. The 17% is definitely not a maximum, it's a minimum. So 41%, you're in excellent financial condition. The statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance is presented on page 13. Again, sticking with the governmental funds with an emphasis on the general fund. Total revenue, $3,154,000 for the general fund. That was a slight decrease in the prior year, but less than 0.5% decrease. Total expenditures for the general fund were $2,834,000. That was an increase of about 2% from the previous year. And then, as I said, you transferred out $60,000 to the capital projects fund from the general fund. And after all of that, your net change in fund balance for the general fund, the results for the year, was an addition of $259,647. 5-year bar graph that shows you the trends for the general fund revenues, expenditures, and total fund balance. Just a visual perspective. And here you can see that you've added to your fund balance in each of the past 5 years. So your general fund revenue and other financing sources in the years that had other financing sources exceeded your expenditures and other financing uses. for each of the past 5 years. So again, a nice healthy upward trend for the general fund. In terms of composition of your general fund revenues, property taxes were 72% of your budget for the revenues, and then intergovernmental, which would include your state shared revenue, your sales tax, at another 10%, fairly consistent with the 2019 composition. In 2019, taxes were 68% and intergovernmental was at 10, the same as it was for 2020. On the expenditure side, public safety at 50%, general government at 24%, recreation and culture at 13%. Again, fairly consistent with the 2019 composition. The only change here was public safety was at 47% in 2019. General government and recreation and culture didn't change in terms of composition, 24% and 13% respectively. And a line graph that shows you the, again, that nice healthy upward trend of your unrestricted or unassigned fund balance as a percentage of expenditures. Ranges from 22% is the low point in 2016 up to 41% in 2020. And then this line graph is just in terms of dollars. The blue line representing what your actual unrestricted fund balance is, and then that brownish colored line is the 17% of each year's expenditures and other financing uses. The proprietary funds are presented on pages 15 through 17. And proprietary funds are prepared on the full accrual basis of accounting, just like the government-wide financial statements. The city of Pleasant Ridge has only one proprietary fund. That is an enterprise fund. So it's the water and sewer operations, and enterprise funds report the same information is what is reported on the government-wide financial statements under business type activities. So it's a slightly different format and some additional detail, but it is the same information. So I've got a 5-year bar graph here that shows you the revenues, expenses, and total net position for the water and sewer fund. And you add it to your net position in 4 of the past 5 years for the water and sewer fund. And here, 2018, your expenses, slightly exceeded your revenues for that fiscal year. And keep in mind that green bar that you see represents total net position, and that total net position does include the amount that's invested in your capital assets. And you can't spend your capital assets. That is not available for future use. That's your water and sewer systems primarily. And so even after considering that fact, the water and sewer fund is still in sound financial condition. And we'll show you why I say that here over the next few slides. The statement of net position for the water and sewer fund is presented on page 15. Again, a snapshot as of June 30th, 2020. So on this slide, I compared the unrestricted portion of net position to operating expenses, but I subtracted out depreciation. Depreciation is a non-cash expense. So after factoring that out, that unrestricted net position represents approximately 144% of your operating expenses less depreciation. And this bar graph shows you the breakdown. So I've taken that total net position and broke it into unrestricted and then the amount invested in capital assets. And here, just as an example, your total net position, as I said earlier, increased from 2019 to 2020, but the components changed a little differently. Your unrestricted net position did increase by about $306,000. But the net investment in capital assets actually decreased to $5,300 for that net of a $300,000 increase. The unrestricted net position as a percentage of operating expenses, again, a healthy upward trend in the last few years. 2018 was an anomaly. It did dip down a little bit. So that kind of leads us to the question of, well, how much should we have in unrestricted net position? And I came up with a calculation here. We can't really use the same benchmarks that we use for the general fund because it's a different basis of accounting. You've got different things to consider when you're talking about an enterprise fund. So we start with operations. We start with operating expenses less depreciation. And here I took 3/12 instead of 2/12 just as a benchmark or starting point for a benchmark. And 3/12 of the operating expenses less depreciation gives you the 238,000. But then you have to factor in next year's principal and interest, your debt service requirements. You have principal payments for the next fiscal year of 99,000, interest payments of another 9,700. That gives you the $109,023 that you see at the bottom of the slide there. And then the most subjective part of this calculation would be the capital needs. And this is, again, really where it depends on the age and condition of your systems. How much do you need to set aside for future repair, replacement, what have you? Your capital needs, it will really depend on from municipality to municipality, what the age and condition of those systems are. So just for sake of the calculation and the presentation here, I took 10% of your historical cost, assuming you would need to replace 10% of your system over the next 10 years. And that gives you $394,909. So you add the three together, and I come up with a recommended minimum unrestricted of $742,000. As of June 30th, 2020, your water and sewer fund had unrestricted net position again of $1,376,000. But I do know you've got some future capital plans. So I don't think you have an excessive amount of net position. I think you're planning, you're preparing for those future capital needs in a prudent and fiscally responsible way. So I went through that very quickly, and I apologize. I got talking kind of fast, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Does anyone have any questions? Well, see, Aaron, you got everything taken care of already.
Okay. Or people just don't want to hear about audits. I don't know.
Well, they love, this is always the favorite meeting of the year.
I'm sure.
Aaron, next time, can you maybe, it would be good if you had pictures, like colored pictures, like of what's going on too. I had to make an audit joke. I'm sorry. It needed a joke. Sorry.
You mean like during the audit, you want me to take pictures of the staff working on your work papers?
With surprise looks, right?
Well, if there are no questions, can I have a motion to receive and file the audit?
Sure. Your Honor, I move the audit of the city's financial statements for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2020 be received and filed.
Is there support? Okay, any other issues? All right, may we have a vote, please, Amy?
Commissioner Perry,
Yes.
Commissioner Wall,
Yes.
Commissioner Budnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Mayor Metzger.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you so much, Aaron. Now you can go on to another meeting, I'm sure.
Thanks, Aaron.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Good night.
Thanks, Aaron.
The next item on the agenda is public discussion. Any items not on the agenda that anyone wants to bring forward? Is there anything? Okay, well, then we'll move on to governmental reports. I believe Sergeant Reed is there. I'm not sure.
Chief Nowak's there.
Oh, Chief Nowak's back. All right.
There we go.
Oh,
Hear me
we
now?
go. Yes.
Yes.
Wouldn't unmute. Good evening, everybody.
Good to see you again, sir.
Hi.
I only missed one meeting.
I know, but no, I wasn't.
There was
I'm
no hidden.
It's always good
Glad to
see
know
you.
that I was missed so much.
Yeah, really.
It's
Yeah.
heartwarming. Like I said, good evening, everybody. Not a lot. It's the holiday season again, and just want to touch on a few points. Criminals are aware that we all have presents that we purchased or extra cash to either give away or spend in our home or on our person. So we need to be mindful of when we're at home, if we come home with packages and things, to close the blinds or put them out of view of people that are looking in windows. We do get videos from Ring doorbells of people just walking up and down the street, looking in people's windows or cars. So if you're trying to hide presents too or something from people maybe in your own household, don't keep them in the back seat of the car. We'll touch more on that in a bit. Especially at your home, try to put them in the trunk if you can, or put them in a house where they're out of view of people that could see them through your windows and stuff. If shopping in stores or malls, if anybody still does that, if you're like me and you load up because you're trying to get it all done in one day and you're tired of walking around with packages, so you go out to your car and want to put them in the car, please don't put them in the back seat of your car. Again, criminals are watching you walk to your car in the lot and hoping that you'll go back in the store and that you put them either in the back seat where they can see them, or if you put them in your trunk and that you do go back in the store, then you have told them that you're going back in to either eat or shop some more and that you're going to be a while, and they have an opportunity to break into your car either through the window in the back seat or into the trunk. I know it's a lot to ask, but I found myself doing it, that I actually get in the car and move to a different parking space. So it appears I'm leaving the mall or the parking lot, and therefore taking myself out of the loop and let somebody else that's not as savvy as myself, or that you all are now, and moving to a different spot in the lot. They will drive around and watch you and follow you just to see if you're doing things like that. So just be aware of your surroundings. Packages delivered to your home. Package theft, again, is big. It always is. You see it on the news every day. We have not, luckily, knocking on some wood, we haven't had reports of any package theft so far off porches, but other cities have, and it's just a matter of time, I'm sure, before we do have some. Again, I've reiterated before, try to be home when the packages are delivered. Many apps allow for that you can be home or get notified. And if not, have your neighbor try to grab it for you, or have them place it in the rear so it's not an easy mark for everybody to grab right off your porch. Asking everybody to be vigilant while out shopping for yourselves and others. Be helpful to people if you see that they're struggling with packages and things like that. Let's all try to be kind to one another, to steal a quote from Ellen. Also be vigilant when you're at home and of your neighbors, and just try to be helpful during this holiday season. Again, if you see something that you think is suspicious, please call the police. Don't wait. We have people that have said, man, I thought about calling, but I didn't know if I should. I didn't want to bother you. Go with your gut instinct. If you think it looks suspicious or doesn't feel right, then just call us. We would rather go and check and find it to be nothing than to find out later that a crime had occurred that we possibly could have prevented in some way. Also, again, I said it before, 2020 and COVID have tested all of our resolve and patience this year. We've had to learn to deal with a lot. Let's just all be cognizant of people's situations and try to be respectful for all our fellow human beings out there. And with that, that's all I have.
Thanks so much.
Any questions?
Yeah, questions? No questions?
Good. Thank you.
Well, happy holidays.
Same to you all.
Thank you. Okay, I think that's the only governmental report. I do want to ask commissioners if there are any liaison updates.
I have one.
Okay.
So December is recreation month, in case you didn't know. There's a lot of fun things going on. First of all, look at how beautiful the lights look. Thank you, Shawnee, for arranging that. The park looks amazingly magical and beautiful. So that's nice. We didn't get to have the lighting situation, but at least we have the lights.
Yeah,
Oh.
the tree looks really good, and Jim had the idea to light the pathway with the soft white. I think it turned out
Beautiful.
really pretty. You can see it from Woodward, and when the guys were there lighting up, he said 50 people walked through at least. I said, oh, it's super high traffic, and he said everybody was just glowing ear to ear, and they were super excited just to see it happening and unfold, and something to look forward to. So
Well, and walking through it, not to be dark, but walking through it feels like magical. Like it's
Magical.
it's so beautiful.
absolutely. So I'm glad people are liking it. Nice
Yep.
addition for sure.
Yep. So for those of you who weren't aware, we're doing a Pleasant Ridge Gleaners Drive that started on Giving Tuesday. Our goal was $750. We're at $1,830, and it goes until December 18th. So there's time to even, to go even higher with it. And they do so many good things. They give to people who are in need of food. It's just a great organization if you've never worked with them or heard about them. Magic reindeer dust. If you register by 12/21, it will be delivered 12/23 to your home, right, Shawnee? Right to your house?
Yeah, if people don't pick it up at any of the Santa things that were, pictures with Santa on Saturday, if they don't pick it up there, we'll make sure it gets delivered to them to their homes by the 23rd.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Virtual ugly Christmas sweater, face mask, craft, 12/21 at 10 a.m. How's the registration for that going?
Good. I think we're almost sold out.
Good, yay.
Yeah.
Who doesn't have an ugly
We're not
sweater?
sold out. It's free, but I think we're almost to our max. So yeah.
Cool. Okay, holiday home decorating contest. Submit your home photos by 12/21. Virtual gingerbread house making, so cute. Obviously, this was really popular. There's only 5 spots left. 12/22 at 10 a.m. Watch for the new Ridger's coming mid-January. There'll be some good information about things that are potentially happening in the spring. And that's all I have. Oh, Wellness Center. Wellness Center closures for the holidays are Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor,
Yes.
the Planning Commission and DDA will be meeting on December 14th, actually, for it's a public hearing regarding signage regulations for the city. There was a Supreme Court change that is spurring this action on?
Yes, mostly. It's been a few years now, but there were some Supreme Court decisions that changed the landscape on how you can regulate signs. And so we're doing some cleanup to address any of those potential issues.
Great. So you can join our Zoom meeting at 7 p.m. on Monday, December 14th and discuss signage with the Planning Commission and DDA.
Wow.
I know, it'll be fun.
That's
Thank
a
you.
holiday special.
I know, it's cool. Thanks.
Gingerbreads and signage. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Moving
Mayor?
on then. Yeah, yes.
Just a quick one for the Historical Commission. Our next meeting will be January 13th. We typically don't have that meeting on the first Wednesday of the year. And then also there are a couple of openings still on the Historical Commission coming up for next year. So if you're interested in joining the Historical Commission, please reach out to City Hall. They can provide you with an application. And I think we have some that have already applied, but there's always an opportunity to apply.
And I think we'll have a Planning Commission opening as well. Is that right, Amy? Yeah. Thanks.
And do you have one spot open on the planning?
I don't know. I know at least one.
I'm gonna look it up. I know there's at least one, but I'm gonna look it up real quick here.
Thanks.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I do have a
Sure.
couple things for
Sure.
Ferndale schools, if I could.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah, just a few things in no particular order. So this is based off of last month's meeting in November. They suspended sports for a few weeks back in accordance with Governor Whitmer's order. And I assume that the same type of action will be taken through the end of the year. Per one of the UHS students, one of the liaisons, she said that the virtual learning has been pretty darn good, which is encouraging to hear. There were a couple pop-ups for the students. They did a socially distanced pumpkin painting pop-up event to give families and kids a little chance to interact. It was a little cold, but it gave them all a sense of community and normalcy. The second pop-up was a story stroll, so families could come and interact with the story on the playground, which was kind of cool. In regards to enrollment, as you could expect, it was down for the 2021 year, about 50% capacity based on what a typical year expects coming in. And finally, Superintendent Bazzi did discuss kind of what they're looking at and how they would return to school. And they're basing a lot of their planning in accordance with Oakland County's guidelines. And so people know what they're looking at. You're looking at a 14-day plus downtrend, what they call a level C, and they grade everything on a letter basis. And basically the moral of the story is this requires a ton of planning, but they are looking at it for when that time comes. And the first priority will be to elementary students due to the low risk transmission. So just wanted to throw that out there. And according to the students that did come on the meeting and speak, there are a large portion that want to come back and an equally large portion that don't. So it's a mixed bag, but it seems that the kids are doing the best they can and the teachers are doing a heck of a job. So things are moving forward, and that's all I have.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Budnick. That half and half seems to be, there's so many things out there that we have pretty even, Steven. Anything else?
I have an update on those
good,
openings on
thanks.
those junior commissions,
Yeah.
Mayor Metzger.
Okay.
So it looks like planning's going to have 2, historical is going to have 2, and right now recreation doesn't have any.
Okay, good. So anybody who wants to take part in either the historical or the planning commissions, a lot of great opportunity. Please fill out your applications now. I think you'll certainly be gratified. You'll find it to be a very interesting and great way to serve the city. So thanks. That's 4 opportunities. That's not bad. Okay. Anything else before we move on? Okay. The next item on the agenda is the consideration of the consent agenda. There are a number of items. Does anybody have any questions or issues related to any of the items? If not, I'm going to ask if there's a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Your Honor, I move that the consent agenda be approved.
Is there
Second.
support?
Support.
Any further discussion? All right, let's have a vote, please, Amy.
Commissioner Budnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Perry,
Yes.
Commissioner Wall,
Yes.
Mayor Metzger.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. The next item is the interlocal agreement between the City of Pleasant Ridge and the City of Berkeley for emergency dispatch services. Jim, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Attached is a interlocal agreement to move our dispatch services to the City of Berkeley. This would also include prisoner lockup and prisoner processing and a few other items. Our police would be able to use their shooting range for their gun certifications and training. We've been with Ferndale for the past few years. We had a long-time relationship with Berkeley for this, but now we are proposing to go back to Berkeley from Ferndale. Ferndale provided a good level of service, but ultimately our guys were happier working with Berkeley. And we believe that our residents received a somewhat higher level of service from Berkeley Dispatch as well. Berkeley dispatches Huntington Woods as well as the city of Berkeley. I think they're a little more accustomed to communities like Huntington Woods and Pleasant Ridge than maybe Ferndale's dispatchers are. So I'd be happy to answer any questions about this. This is a cost neutral move. The cost is the same. It was the same cost we were paying Berkeley before, the same cost we're paying Ferndale now. So it's not a financial question. It's just a level of service question. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have on this item.
I'm just going to say I was somewhat disappointed in reading about some of the issues with Ferndale, but I think this is a smart move, and I'm glad that we're doing this and consolidating all our services up in Berkeley. It's good, except for fire.
And thank you for being proactive in finding and getting this going again.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So, Jim, will there be any difference in the level of communication services since we do use Ferndale Fire and then changing it to the Berkeley dispatch?
So it would be how it was for years. We were with Berkeley for a long time, and we were with Ferndale Fire for fire and EMS. Really, it adds just a couple of seconds. If a call goes to call for service for fire or EMS, now goes to Berkeley, Berkeley will just transfer that over and dispatch out to Ferndale Fire.
Okay.
In terms of what the delay that adds, it's negligible. And again, that's how it functioned for a long time before a couple of years ago when we moved over to Ferndale.
And so I know there's a lot of, we support other cities with our, police backup, and then we get support from other cities. And so, you were mentioning that there, that we've been getting a lot, that Berkeley has sort of been giving us a lot of backup and everything lately. Sort of in just the cooperative.
Yes.
Service. I think I'm locked up. Oh, sorry.
There's a freeze on here.
Okay. I think you're back now. Yeah, that's correct. I think all of the local agencies support each other.
Okay.
But just in terms of working relationship, it seems that our guys and the Woods, Huntington Woods and Berkeley work very well together and support each other well. So this does fall into that existing working relationship we have.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other comments? Questions? All right.
I'm sorry, Mayor. The one thing I did not mention is that we do with Ferndale, we gave them notice of our termination of that contract. It was a 1-year notice in that contract. We gave them that on September 3rd of this year. And so we are not sure when we will commence the move to Berkeley, just because we have that existing relationship with Ferndale and that existing obligation. We would move no later than July 1st to Berkeley. So potentially we would have a month or two where we would potentially have a obligation to Ferndale, but that's a small amount from a budgetary standpoint. And we are in discussions with Ferndale about an earlier termination date, but that has to be done by mutual consent. So expect this to happen no later than July 1 and potentially sooner.
Great. Okay, I'm going to ask if there's a motion to approve.
Mayor, I move that the interlocal agreement between the City of Pleasant Ridge and the City of Berkeley for police dispatch services be approved, and that the mayor be authorized to sign the agreement.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right. Amy, can we have a vote, please?
Commissioner Perry,
Yes.
Commissioner Wall,
Yes.
Commissioner Budnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Mayor Metzger.
Yes, motion carries. Let's move on to the next item, which is the Investment Committee report regarding investment allocations. I think this is going to be Jim and Brett.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As described in the packet, we have a proposed allocation change to our investment portfolio with Vanguard. I'll briefly introduce this, but the SCAF fund, which was the settlement money the city received from the 696 lawsuit in the mid-90s, was put into SCAF, the Segregated Capital Assets Fund. In 2015, we created a new sub-fund and put $2 million of the SCAF money in there as a Parks and Recreation endowment fund. Basically, this is something that state law allows us to do. Generally, cities can only invest in very, very, very safe, very liquid things like money markets with any city funds. The state enabling legislation allows us to create an endowment fund for Parks and Recreation purposes that can invest per the pension fund rules. So basically, we can invest in the market and it gets us some extra return. So we've had that for the last 5 years with Vanguard, and we've seen a much higher return than we have on other city investments that are in the very safe, very liquid investments. And so right now we are proposing, and we've been looking at this with our Vanguard investment advisor, and I'm going to let Brett take it from here to describe what the proposed changes.
Sure. And again, just as some background, the fund has existed for about 30 years as the SCAF fund. That fund made, I believe, somewhere between a 1 and 1.5% of interest for the city as the SCAF. In 2015, we decided to move a portion of the money into this particular new kind of fund, which is yielding a much higher return. But there's always, with any fund, the opportunity to adjust what types of fixed assets and what kinds of assets you invested in. And so at the moment, we have the portfolio set at 60%, 40%, 60% of fixed, 60% of equities to 40% fixed income. We're proposing that we move that up to a 70-30 split. When we compared the risks that were associated with making that move, the risk was actually very low in comparison to the additional funds that we might make by moving to a higher percentage split. And then that allows us more opportunity to make money for other recreation activities. And every year we take some funds off of this new fund to pay for things around the city. We'd like to start boosting that just a little bit so that we can pull a bit more money out every year to pay for the higher cost of things just around the city, specifically related to recreation funds. This can't be spent for anything else. So the proposal that Vanguard gave to us was to move to this 70-30. We looked at 80-20 split. We looked at staying the same, but we thought that this was a relatively low risk move for the city with the opportunity to make more money over time to fund recreation activities.
Are there questions for Brett? Was it, as I was reading the kind of the future, some of the future percentages, it looks like the 70-30 is both positioned to do a better returns, but also could cause the likelihood of losing is a little bit higher, maybe, or no? Did I?
That's true.
But very slight.
Exactly. The one way to look at it is that the likelihood that the fund will dip into negative regions or closer to zero is just ever so slightly higher at 70-30 than 60-40. But the opportunity to make more money is outstrips that the risk.
Right. That's what
we expect that we expect, because the market is so volatile, that we will have years where we have almost zero return. I mean, there is the likelihood that over the next 10 years, there will be at least 1 year where the return is almost zero. And in fact, we've experienced that over the last 5 years because the market's just been going up and down. But overall, we expect the market to do quite well. And thought it would be good to take advantage of that earning potential.
Right. Yeah, I could see that the gains were the likelihood of gains were much higher for the 70-30 than either that 60-40 or the 50-50. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
And I recall us having this discussion 5 years ago because we had thought about jumping in at 50-50, but we decided
Right.
to take just a bit more risk.
Right. Good. Anybody?
No, just thank you guys for taking such good care of the fund
Yep.
and spending so much time on this.
No, we really appreciate it. It means so much for the city.
It does.
Financially.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In general, we've probably been getting between $50,000 and $100,000 worth of project money out of the fund and letting it build up through the year and then scraping that bit off to fund something. So it's been a good opportunity for us.
Excellent.
I'd also like to give a thanks to former Mayor Ralph Costello. He's on the
Right.
investment committee along with Amy, Jim, and myself.
No, I think Ralph deserves a lot of thanks for that work. So great. All right. Thanks to all of you.
No action is necessary
is
on
no
this, as
action,
the
right.
the investment committee has the ability to set the investment level, but we did want to report back.
Good.
And generally speaking, for anyone who hasn't looked at the packet, who might be watching this meeting now or later, the fund has increased in value by about 550,000 over the last 5 years. So that's a pretty healthy increase, and that doesn't include the roughly $200,000 that we've taken out of the fund to fund some of the recreation projects. The pavilions at Gainsborough and Fort Ridge have been partially funded by this. The lighting project in Gainsborough Park was funded partially by the funds from this. So it's working well for us, and it's continuing to grow pretty well. So we're happy.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you much.
Yeah. Okay, then we'll move on to the city manager's report.
So I don't know if you heard, but leaf season's over.
That was amazingly smooth, knock on wood.
It
I-
seemed
you
to
know,
work.
Then
It seemed
It
to work
was-
well.
I don't think we'll ever have a leaf season this smooth again,
Right.
ever.
Right.
wait, one thing that went right this year.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
leaves fell on time, and yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't
yeah.
snow.
They didn't catch on fire in the streets, so that was good.
No.
That's huge.
Here.
So you residents may have noticed, we talked about this a little bit during our earlier discussion, but on Amherst recently, there were 7 houses where we changed the service lines, the lead service lines. So that's what was happening on Amherst where the street was dug up. You'll notice that there's some cold patch in front of those houses now, which will be repaired in the spring. But this is at Amherst near the alley, where we did our first round of dipping our toe in the water of doing lead service line replacements. So I'm happy to report that the contractor that we have for that project, who has a contract actually with SACWA, the Southern Oakland County Water Authority, of which we are a member. They bid out lead service line replacements, and D'Angelo Brothers was the winning contractor, who is now available to all of the SACWA communities. And we were the first ones who used D'Angelo Brothers' services under that contract. And that's not to say that they haven't done this thousands of times elsewhere, but for us, it was a new experience. And I'm happy to report it went very well. When they replace a service line, from the main to the meter in the house, they have to dig a hole at the street where the water main is, and then they dig another hole in the front yard where the stop box is. And then they use those 2 holes to either pull the old line, they connect the new copper line to the old lead line and then pull it through the ground with the machine that they have, or sometimes they have to directional drill it. And then in the basement, they typically put about a 1 foot by 1 foot hole in the wall or the floor and pull it in the basement. And that's how they replace the lines. So it's a pretty good process. It's not terribly disruptive, and it went fairly well. So this is the first in a long journey ahead to replace all of our lead service lines. As The commission knows, and people who watch the meetings know, I try to talk about this as much as possible to try to provide as much heads up as possible. When you're all sick of hearing this message, then you know that it's probably just
It's
starting
time,
to sink in, right? But
Yeah.
we have to replace all of our lead service lines, both the private and the public portion, per state rules. The city owns the portion of the water service lead from the water main to the stop box, and then from the stop box to the meter inside the house is privately owned. That's the homeowner's responsibility. But the state has said that the public water supplier, or in this case, that's the city, we have to replace all lead service lines, both private and publicly owned, at our expense. So we're just getting ready. This is our test run to see how the process went and to get ready for doing many, many, many more of these in the future. And I'm happy with how the process went. It's just a matter of paying for many, many, many more of these. So again, we will be talking about that a lot more as we start to get into budget discussions. But our first actual physical venture into this was very successful.
Wow, good.
And in the past, when we've had Royal Oak do it, or other private contractors, oftentimes they open trench. So they dig up all the way across the street, and then they open trench all the way through the front yard, and it's very, very, very disruptive. So it was good with this process where they pull it through the ground. It is far less disruptive to landscaping, the front yards, to the street. So that was good. So we'll be glad to use that going forward. So that's some good news. Other than that, with the recent COVID clampdown again, we've canceled many of our recreation programs, and there's not much going on. City Hall will be closed in between Christmas and New Year's. So December 28th, 29th, 30, City Hall will be closed. The drop box will be open, and you can call police dispatch with any emergency needs, but residents should not plan on coming in to visit us. And so with that, I hope the commission and everyone has a wonderful holiday season, whatever you're celebrating, and we'll see you next year.
Thank you, Jim.
Jim, I have a quick question. That's very cool about the Amherst exploration with the at the beginning of the lead line replacement thing. Did they already replace the concrete, or is that going to be done in the spring?
No, it's just asphalt cold patch for now. We didn't want them to replace the concrete because with the temperatures being low, they have to have additives to cure it in these colder temperatures, and that impacts its long-term integrity. So we'd rather just have it cold patch through the winter and then do the permanent replacement in the springtime when the quality of the concrete will be higher and longer lasting.
Great, thank you.
Good. Are there any other questions for Jim?
Mr. Mayor, just a quick comment. I kind of wanted to reiterate that considering where our discussions were beginning of the year regarding budget and where Jim and the team wanted to be, I think it's great to see the surplus and how really the health of the city's financial well-being is. It feels good, and kudos to Jim and the team, and having a 40-some% balance in there and looking to go more. I think it's a great place to be. So kudos once again.
Hear, hear.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, let's move on to other business. Anybody have any other business?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Just a couple of quick ones. The Pleasant Ridge Then and Now team committee working on the book for our historical record for Pleasant Ridge has a couple of interesting requests. If you have any photographs of the city throughout history, just feel free to send them to me either digitally or manually, because we're just filling in the chapters with interesting pictures of maybe there are people that lived here where we have permission to use them, or streets before they were paved, or anything that's just of interest about the city. It would be great to get those photos to help fill in the book. We have obviously tons of photographs available to us now, but sometimes it's great to ask people about their own perspective so that they see something they relate to in the book. And so looking forward to seeing anything that you might have in that regard. And then the second one, it's kind of an interesting one. I got an email today from someone had asked a question about our city seal.
Right. Yeah.
So
I sicked him on you, you know.
Oh, thank you. So it doesn't appear that there was a city commission decision or anything that led to the use of our current seal, or that there might have been prior seals in use. So if anyone out there might have just remembers when that first popped up, or when they first remember seeing it, maybe they have a memorandum or something that used it that they recall. It would be great if you could provide me a copy of that, and that might send us in the right direction for understanding the history of our first city seal. So I think towards the springtime, people will see the end result of the work from the Then and Now committee. The book is shaping up. I've learned so much about the Detroit area just reading through the updates to the chapters, and I know the Then and Now committee are looking forward to getting this out to everyone. So stay tuned for more details.
Can I ask a question? What's the hard
Yeah.
step? What's the hard step on getting pictures? Like, when are you guys going to go to publish it?
We've actually got probably a month or so, I'd say, maybe a couple of months. We're just about done editing the words.
Okay.
But I'd say if we had something after Christmas, that would be cool.
Thanks.
No problem.
All right.
Mr.
Anybody
Mayor,
else?
wanted to
Yes.
maybe mention the Toys for Tots information.
Oh, sure. I had posted it on the Pleasant Ridge Facebook pages, but Ameriprise, our friends Lee Hart and Charles Dunlap have opened they haven't opened their offices, but they are doing the Toys for Tots drive once again. It'll run from 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. New toys, books only. And what we ask you to do because of COVID is you come to the front door of the building on Woodward, and Ann Hornsby, who sits behind the desk on the first floor, will make sure the box should be set up between their main door and the door into the building itself. So she will give directions as far as where you should put your toys, but they will be collecting toys until December 18th. And as I said in my post, of all years, this has been a tough one. There are so many people who have had to make decisions on how do you pay the rent and keep the utilities going and get food, much less thinking about toys for their kids. And the kids we know have had a really tough time, certainly not being able to be in school, not being able to play with their friends, all the other parts of childhood that we normally think of have kind of been pushed aside this year. So it's particularly important that we donate as much as we can. And it's wonderful that Lee and Charles are again offering up their building, their business to collect the toys. So I encourage all Pleasant Ridgers, and if you have friends outside that want to make these kinds of donations, please, that's we want you to do that. And again, we have 10 days that you can do, 10 days, business days, until the end. So there's not a whole lot of time, but we encourage anybody and everybody to try to at least donate 1 or 2 toys would be great. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning it. I also talked to Oakland County Sheriff's Department today. They collected over 4,000 jackets from Oakland County. And
fantastic.
We filled personally, and from Pleasant Ridge, we filled 1 van load full. So
Wow.
Amazing.
Excellent.
we did really
Excellent.
well at the community center and at City Hall. So they were very pleased with their overall turnout, and especially from the city. So
That's
Yay.
wonderful. Yay, good.
that's
Excellent.
generosity.
Are there any other issues?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you. There are a couple things. We are hearing a rumor that Santa is going to come through the city on, hopefully his plan is to come through and do a little drive-through on Sunday, starting at like 1 p.m. So watch social media and things like that and talk to your neighbors. And I think he's going to keep us updated. on, Santa hitting all the streets in Pleasant Ridge, because he just wants to make sure everybody is ready for the holidays and is being well behaved. So watch out for that. The other thing is, as knock on wood, we haven't had any snow this year, but as the snow is coming up with the city, there are ordinances and everything that we're all responsible for shoveling our sidewalks around our home, as well as our walkway up to the house for, the mailmen and mail people and delivery people. But also just with COVID and everyone being home, this will be a really important year for, everybody. As we all see, everybody's out walking a lot more. Everybody has more puppies and dogs and everything like that, but everybody is just getting outside quite a bit more. So if we can all work together and, help our neighbors, get their snow shoveled if they're having any issues, or, just make sure that we all get out there as early as possible and sort of keep up on our sidewalks and keep everything clean. That'll really, I think, sort of help. And, and for us all to work together, I think would be really a great thing. We all know those neighbors that maybe struggle to get theirs done. And so maybe trying to really help each other out with all that. And another topic that has come up is snow removal on the roads. And it's so, it's so important that we all get our cars and vehicles off the streets when, the snow plows are going to be coming through, so that it can be a much, cleaner sweep and everything. So for folks who maybe they don't have enough driveway space, or they don't have a driveway, if you want to reach out to me, and we will figure out like some, there aren't that many people who don't have sort of a solution for getting their cars off the road, but it's so important. So reach out to me at my city email, which is aperry@cityofpleasantridge.org. And we can, we'll make sure to find a solution, somebody who does have extra driveway space, and get that solved. But it really helps everybody and it makes it so much easier for the snowplow folks. So that is all. But thank you guys very much. It's going to be we'll make this a fun holiday season. Weird as it is. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Perry.
Sure.
Anything else before
Mayor?
we wish yes.
Just a quick one. I got a text from someone watching that said we might have had a 20-minute YouTube outage. So if you were watching the city commission meeting and it zoinked out for 20 minutes, then you should be able to catch it afterwards. And certainly all of the minutes are always available on the website.
And if it was during the audit, I'm sure we can have we
can always bring them back.
Another PowerPoint.
I want the Schoolhouse Rock version, though.
There you go. Okay, we'll add some bells and whistles to it. Excellent. All right. If there is nothing, I want to wish everyone a happy holiday season. Hanukkah starts on Thursday of this week, and certainly we have the possibility of Santa driving the streets on Sunday. So a lot to look forward to. And with that, I'm going to ask if there's a motion to adjourn. Anybody want to give me a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I
All in
second that
favor?
motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry-
Merry Christmas.
Happy
Merry
Happy
Christmas, everybody.
holidays. Merry Christmas.